All right, today we're making Kai Angel vocals. I have been requested this a couple times now, which means I am contractually obligated to serve the people. In this video, I will be going over the vocal chain as well as the mixing part of the vocals. So we're gonna start this bad boy with the vocal chain. So up first we got an autotune. Now Kai Angel, heavy autotune. So set that retune speed to 0 and flex tune to 0. I'm using Antares Autotune Pro. You can also use either Waves Tune, which is about $30 to $40, or you can use Grayon 3, which is a free autotune. Up next, I'm using this puigtec EQ P1A, and all I'm doing is giving a boost at the 10,000 hertz frequency range. This adds brightness to the vocals, and that's all it's used for. Up next in the vocal chain, we have the glue compressor. Now, whatever DAW you're using, you can just use a stock compressor. This compressor is set with a very quick attack and a very quick release, so that reduces the volume of very loud consonants. Up next in the vocal chain, I've just got a simple EQ where I'm cutting the lows and I'm doing a little dip right around 3000 hertz. Now this dip was specific to my vocals. I found that I have a pretty good peak right around that 3K range, so I just ducked it a little bit. Yours might be a little different. You're gonna wanna keep an eye out for harsh areas of your vocals. Up next, we have a multi-band compressor, OTT. Now I've tuned this OTT quite a bit. If you don't have Ableton, you can download OTT for free on Xfer's website. It is an awesome multi-band compressor. After the multi-band compressor, I have a limiter. I just use this as a visual tool to see how loud my vocals are. So you don't need this. Up next, we've got Soothe 2. And this is one of my favorite plugins because you can really fine tune what frequencies you want to duck. In this case, I'm ducking a lot of this 6000 range because I have a lot of hissy S noises up there and a little bit in that focus body area right around 1K just to match Kai Angel's vocals. As you'll see, his vocals aren't super warm. Getting some of that low end removed is helpful for achieving that sound. Up next is our de-esser, and for this I'm just using Waves de-esser. For your de-esser, the threshold will depend on how loud your vocal track is. At this point, it's pretty quiet, so I've got it around -22 because that gets me about -3 to -6 dB in attenuation, and that's about what I shoot for with de-essing. The other thing you want to do with de-essing is make sure your frequency is hitting where your S's are hitting. Every time you sing, you're going to sing a different S. Sometimes my S's are closer to 4.8 thousand, sometimes they're closer to 6,000. In this case, they were a lot closer to that 6K hertz range, so that's why the frequency is set to about 6100 hertz. Up next, I've got another low cut EQ. It's doing the same thing as the first one, low cut because OTT can sometimes add low end back in. I've also got this 3K dip because, again, that's where my vocals were harsh, so I cut it out a little bit. Up next is a glue compressor. This glue compressor is compressing much more than the first one. The goal with this compressor is to flatten your vocals, make them sound compressed. He's got a very heavily compressed sound, so that's what you're achieving with this as well as the OTT. Up next, we have a gate. Now, you don't need a gate. The reason I have this gate is because it's easier than going in and chopping your vocals up like this. With a gate, it kind of does it for you. The one thing I will say about the gate, sometimes when you set your return too high, it will cut off part of maybe your breath or the beginning of a word, and you'll still get noise. So if the gate's not working for you, I would recommend going into your vocal and then just cutting out parts where there's noise, because the OTT and the puigtec EQ will add quite a bit of noise to this because it's a very bright vocal chain. Next, I've got a fabfilter Pro L. I use this for increasing gain and for visualizing my vocals so I know where they sit in my mix. And last thing I have here is a delay. This delay is doing vocal widening. Not very much. It's pretty low on the feedback, low, like super quick delay, and pretty low on the dry wet. This is just gonna make you sound like you're in a room, makes your vocals just a little bit wider. At the very end of the chain, I have a delay and reverb, which may or may not get added depending on what part of the song you're at. Sometimes Kai has some background reverbed vocals. Other times his vocals are pretty dry. So it's important to have this at the end of your chain so you can adjust when and where you want to use it. If you want a more in-depth explanation of how all this sounds, what each thing does, go check out my How to Make Hyperpop Vocals video. It's almost identical to this vocal chain. I've tuned this one specifically to Kai Angel's vocals. Let's dive in on how you actually sound like Kai Angel here. All right, so I've got a snippet of Kai Angel's acapella on Lipstick, and we're gonna give that a listen real quick.
Lipstick, я наношу на себя lipstick.
So as you can hear, very heavy on the auto-tune. It's a pretty dry vocal. And not only that, he is Russian, so he's got that Eastern European accent, and it's kind of what sets his vocals apart from a lot of other rappers' vocals. In order to achieve this sound, you have to try to sound like him. Don't sound like yourself. You need to try to sound more Eastern European. You need to get a little bit more nasally, close off your throat a little bit, and I am going to try to give an example of that. I've got some lyrics. I'm going to throw them on here. It's going to sound terrible. Here we go. Yeah. Do you want to know what I decided? Yeah. How we gonna link if you keep lying? There's the vocal recording. Now let's hear how that sounds. Yeah. Do you want to know what I decided? Yeah. How we gonna link if you keep lying? All right, there you go. That's a pretty basic vocal. In this instance, I have delay and reverb on because I'm not rapping. I'm kind of singing this part. If I were rapping and I was taking up a lot of space on this track, I would likely turn the delay off and turn the reverb way down. Kai Angel doesn't do much to his vocals other than this. He will sometimes do a double, so he'll just sing the same vocal on top of this. I will do a quick example here. Do you want to know what I decided? How we gonna link if you keep lying? The double basically just acts as a support track for your lead. Kai Angel doesn't always use it, but when he does, it sounds nice. Another thing Kai Angel will do is have some ad-libs, obviously. We'll take out the double and we'll add in a track of ad-lib here. Do you wanna know what I decided? How we gonna link if you keep lying? Keep lying. And here's how that sounds. Do you wanna know what I decided? How we gonna link if you keep lying? There you go. That's a pretty basic how he does it. One more note I'll add. This is about as close as you can get with the vocal chain, but the reason he's such a unique artist is because of how his voice sounds, and you will likely never achieve that. What I recommend you do is take this vocal chain and use your own voice on it. For example, I personally think I sound a lot better when I use my normal voice, and this is how that sounds. Do you wanna know what I decided? Yeah. How we gonna link if you keep lying? Be yourself. Kai Angel gives us a great reference on how this style of music should be mixed with vocals and how you should do vocals over this. But please, please be yourself. Let me know whose vocals you want to see me do next, and I will probably get around to doing it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.